Hey, this is Ricky with PypeServer. I'm standing in front of a TigerSaw 2000 here at University Mechanical. We're going to import some parts into PypeServer Lyte, and then we're going to cut them here on the TigerSaw. So if you bring up PypeServer Lyte from the desktop, you'll see it like this. To know that you're connected to the machine, you'll see these two buttons at the bottom. If you do not see a stop or a pause button at the bottom, that means your connection to the TigerSaw is not quite there. To fix that, you go to Settings, Material Positioner Settings, and reconnect to the TigerSaw that way. All right. Now to have something to cut, we're going to want to import. We're going to use MSUITE for an example today. Click on the import button in the upper left. It's going to remember where you last imported from, the last job you imported from, to save you some clicks. But really, MSUITE's found right here in the middle of our importers. The login and password are right there. You would select a job. You can import by spool or by package. Most people import by the whole package, okay? So I'm gonna grab one. I'll import the package. Now because these came from MSUITE, we're going to report status back to MSUITE. That happens automatically. There's no configuration for that, okay? This screen is the load stock window. You can specify really whatever your stock length is. In this case, we're cutting copper, and 240 inches is pretty reliable in the copper world. So I'm going to leave it at 240. Okay, now here are our items to cut. Automatically, the nesting is going to happen. You see right at the top in orange, that's your active cut piece. The next one below it in gray matches the illustration at the bottom. That's another piece, okay? So if you scroll with your finger, you can see that this cut plan goes for a while. If you wanted to cut that down to only spools that you wanted to process at one time, you can use the filter button up here at the right. These are the filters that are available because these are the same columns that are shown. So if you wanted to filter by another data point, what you have to do is show that particular column, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But for now, I'm going to scroll down, grab a few spools, and maybe you only want to process 3 spools at a time. Okay. Now when it comes to the nesting algorithm, the more information that you give it, the more cut parts that you give it, the better your nesting is going to be. But in this case, we only want to cut what the shop can handle and what the shop can fabricate. Okay. This got it down to a reasonable amount that we can process. Now when I was mentioning the columns before, if you wanted to show different columns, there's a bunch of different data points. You would hold down right here, or if you have a mouse available, right click. And you can click on Show Column Chooser. This will give you a full list of all of the PypeServer properties that we've gotten and populated, in this case from MSUITE. So there's a number of properties that you could add at any time. So we're ready to cut. One thing we might want to check is our print settings. Let's go into print settings. Under Settings and Print Settings, you've got a couple opportunities to print labels for different reasons, okay? We've already set up the ZPL printer right here. We gave it its DPI. We're telling it to print on the cut as opposed to before the cut. In this situation, you're gonna wanna print as you're receiving the finished piece, so that makes a lot of sense. The label template specified right here, this can be customized at any time, for all of the data points that you would see in the MSUITE importer, and all the data points that you see as column choices are listed right here. What you would do is just find the one that you want, drag it on. Okay. You can also print labels for your scrap. When you get to the end of a cut list, you're most likely going to have a significant amount of scrap on that last piece. Maybe we want to save that for a future job. You could create a specific template just for scrap labels that gives you the decimal length, because you'll need that later, and then maybe something that says return to stock. You can put it back on the rack for now. The rest of it's handled pretty much automatically. We have the machine configured right now to push the piece through, do a cut, and then automatically push without the user having to interact with the software anymore. So we've loaded the piece on and we've butted up against the positioner, and the operator at this point just needs to click the move button. Okay, now right now it's doing a trim cut, so we're taking a 1/2 inch off the very beginning of the piece of stock to give it a fresh cut. We're pushing to the second position. You see that we're down at 19/6 1/16. The TigerSaw automatically does the cuts. Okay, labels are printing out at the other end. Now it'll show you that the active piece is orange right now, the second one right here. The previous piece is this last part designated right here, and that'll show up in blue. We've gotten to the end of the first cut piece, so the restock window comes up, and there's an option here to change the default stock length. Typically, you would just click the OK button, it would go back out to 240 inches, and you can start the process over.